viewers. Today we are back again with another episode of Nasscom Insights Tech Talks. And this one focuses on a very important sector. We all know that the energy sector is the bedrock of modern civilization. It fuels economies, illuminates our homes, powers our technologies, underpins global stability. The ongoing transformation, particularly towards more sustainable sources, is not just an environmental imperative, but also a fundamental driver of future prosperity and security for the world. So this time we have with us someone who is leading this transition from RPA to real intelligence, including AI, in the global energy sector. And this is Ranan Bhattacharya, Head of Automation at Shell. Now, Ranan is a seasoned technology leader with extensive experience in building and developing high-performance teams that deliver significant value across retail, energy, and healthcare sectors. An energy graduate from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, with a management degree from IIM-Calcutta and the emerging CTO program from IIT Kanpur, Renan is a passionate technology enthusiast and has committed to establish and scale technology practices within GCCs, driving innovation and aligning technology with business outcomes. Welcome to Nasscom Insights Tech Talks, Renan.
Thank you, Achyuta. Really happy to be part of it and looking forward to a nice conversation.
Thank you, Renan. So, Renan, there is this perception that the energy sector has lagged in adoption of automation compared to, say, some of the other sectors, right? And reasons are many that they're cited, like legacy infrastructure, high initial costs, risk aversion, data challenges, regulatory constraints, workforce impact and resistance, complexity of operations, cybersecurity, right? So today's talk, we want to focus on these perceptions and how you see this sector evolving going forward. But before we start, Renan, I'd like to know a little bit about yourself for the audience. So what really led you here, your journey so far, right? Your experiences, your role models, inspirations, and hobbies. I mean, would you like to just give us a little bit of brief about the personal side of Renan?
Sure, definitely. So definitely started my career as a technology enthusiast. So a little more than two decades back. I started my career, so technology definitely is still very close to my heart, but I'm sure like you will also acknowledge the fact that technology has transitioned a lot in the last 2 decades. So where we started and where we are today, I think it's transitional in nature. So definitely the latest trend of technology kept me awake and really inspired me to be a more technology-oriented leader. And on the personal side, I'm born and brought up in Kolkata, but now for the last 23 years in Bangalore. So I call myself an equal Kannadiga as well. And I'm a very passionate sports lover. Being a Bengali, I'm very close to football always. So that takes most of my time when I'm not working. Either I'm trying to play or I'm watching. And at the same time,
so Mohan or East Bengal, which one?
It's East Bengal, yes. It's not doing well, but
okay. Yeah. Okay, please continue.
No, and definitely, I love to eat. So I keep exploring food from all parts of the world. I'm a person who is like pretty adventurous with food, so that's also one of my hobby or passion, you might say, which very close to my heart.
Great. I think that's also something that's common between us, and maybe we should have a separate food talk series and where I invite you, Renan, and we can talk about all your adventures there. So quickly going into the topic, Renan, how do you define the transition from RPA to real intelligence in the context of large-scale industries such as energy?
Yeah, I think it will be helpful for the audience to understand a little bit the magnitude of the transition energy sector is going through, because we have been living in a world where most of the energy comes from petroleum products, and we are heading towards a future which is going to be completely non-petroleum products with a much lesser pollution, with different alternatives. And if you just try to think, this transition is going to be huge, because number one, the scale at which the demand of energy is today and it's going to be in future is humongous. So we have to find out a source which can cater to such a volume. And on the second part is like, it should not create another type of impact on the environment what it has in the past. So it's a very responsible transition journey we are part. But at the same time, this journey has to be fast now, and that is because there are quite a bit of damage has happened, and definitely all of us really want to make the world a much better place for all of us to live in. So while we are doing that, some of the skills we are trying to evolve within ourselves, and some of the skills we have to adapt from others, because we do not really have time to really embed all the skills, all the technologies, learn and implement. So we are trying to react as fast as we can based on the demand what we have. And to do that, I think there is no alternative of utilizing technology at its best. And that's where automation plays a very key role for us. And in an industry like energy and utilities, RPA is a pretty old player. So RPA has helped to optimize various business processes over, say, like last decade, which has really helped a lot of business processes, be it the internal functions like HR, finance, or corporate, or the downstream and the upstream businesses. It has really helped to streamline a lot of processes. But where we are today is like the businesses are looking up to us to say that, like, it's no more about automating just one single business process. It's about how do we bring in end-to-end automation, end-to-end efficiency. And that's where I think the journey from RPA to intelligent automation is the key now. So far, we have been able to benefit business by doing a structured rule-based automation. And the future lies where, like, it will be more flexible, it will be more context-based, it will be more empowered automation in the end-to-end business lifecycle.
I think very nicely put, Ranan. So when you say this transition from RPA to real intelligence, the end-to-end, intelligence that you're talking about, what are the key drivers that are pushing this evolution in automation? You talked about sustainability being one key driver, right? Is there anything else that you define as key driver pushing you in this direction?
So I think it has two different parts. One part is purely the business. Business is definitely the number one driving factor, because if we look into the way the business today is operating, especially in large industries like energy utilities, we have a huge operation cost, which basically impacts our profitability. Mm-hmm. And because we have large assets, humongous assets, which definitely are our core businesses, and that's where a lot of amount of money and energy gets spent to really operate that, maintain that, and regularly run. So one of the basic need today of the businesses is like how we can optimize our assets, how we can reduce our operation costs, how do we bring in more forecasting and the predictive understanding of the larger systems, rather than waiting for a damage or a disaster or a fault to happen when the cost of repair is much higher. So definitely that's a place where there is a dying need of bringing in automation. There are a lot of usage of sensor-based IoTs to kind of capture texts and images and the videos on every instance to ensure that we are predicting any fault much well in advance. The other part is the top line part, which is like, how do we grow as a business? How do we understand the market trends faster? How do we understand that where the potential lies, some of the places where like human is not able to reach? How do we see that, like, if there are potentials to have alternate sources of energy, if there are ways to kind of optimize some of those findings, how do we fasten our R&D initiatives? So these demand also is pushing us to say that, like, how do we use technology, automation more in place so that, like, we can bring in results much faster to both reduce our operational cost and improve our business, so that the profitability margin is huge, because that profitability only will give us more bandwidth to keep investing on the future sources, which is our primary goal today.
Sure, I think nicely put. Can we get a little bit more real, Ranan? Can you give some real world examples? If you look at the energy value chain, right, where do you see this transition is already happening? From RPA to real intelligence, including AI. So, what are the specific examples that you can call out where there is a discernible impact being made by technologies going forward?
So I can give you two examples. One is from energy, direct energy use case. Another is not exactly related to the energy use case, but that is within, say, like our ecosystem. So it start with the first one, which is say like our finance team, or our finance function. So finance function in an energy company is huge because there are always transactions of huge amount of money, like the platforms like trading and supply on a regular basis kind of handles trillions a dollar worth of transactions. So it's a very robust system, the finance of energy companies, which requires a lot of intervention, manual intervention. It's error prone. There are a lot of things which gets delayed because we have to put in check and balance in different points. So that's one place where RPA plus automation has helped us to automate most of these functions, where we do not need really somebody to really sit where like millions of volumes of invoices are coming on your way, and human sitting there and manually checking everything. That used to be like really cumbersome. And finally, the payment to the vendors, from the time the invoices reach to the organizations, also used to be quite a longer period of time. So this function has been largely benefited by bringing automation, and that's why the monetary transactions have become much faster, and that's giving us more real-time calculation of like the cash flow and the outflow, kind of a thing, which used to take quarters earlier. Now we are getting that insight pretty much almost on real time. The other example what I can give from the exactly energy life cycle is say like one of the biggest, I would say, investment for us is the rigs and the refineries, because those are the places where the petroleum products are pulled up, and then it gets refined to be sold in a condition which can be used by consumers like you and me. And that's the larger part. So there are a lot of elements involved into that, starting from supply chain to the asset management to the operations to the maintenance, and all these processes run on various different technology platforms. While all these technology platforms over a period of time have become quite sophisticated, but we still lacked an orchestration between these platforms, because these are not easy applications which can be stitched together, because there was no standardized API available, standardized connectors are not available. So that way, like, there are multiple systems which are a bit siloed in nature, although very sophisticated by themselves, but end to end business wise, we were like losing a lot of time and a lot of money because of these gaps. So now with the advent of the decision making orchestration layers, which is definitely helping us to bridge that gap, which is basically allowing us to integrate between different technology platforms, and the data flowing between these platforms are quite unified in nature. That is giving us the power and potential to do the real-time analysis of all these different departments, and that's definitely bringing a lot of efficiency and the productivity into the system.
And I think those are good examples. But what challenges do organizations still face, right? From scaling from RPA to intelligent automation. I talked about a few, but you have the practitioner's angle, right? So would you talk about the top 3 or top 4 at your end that you've seen?
I mean, to start with, the biggest challenge is like this all automation use cases work really well when it's a POC level. But the moment it gets into work into a legacy system, it's much different than the use cases and the success rate what we see at the POC level. So one of the biggest challenges is that how we bring in automation in a legacy environment, because the legacy environment, the legacy infrastructure, the legacy tools what we have, they're all doing good. They're all serving the purpose pretty well. And the moment we are trying to put in automation in there are a lot of challenges, because these two technologies are born and brought up in a two different era altogether. So their languages, their algorithms, everything is very different. But at the same time, there is not enough reason to replace those legacy platforms just because I want to bring in artificial intelligence on top of that. So that's where one of the biggest challenges, like how do we bring in and still make artificial intelligence, machine learning work on the legacy systems. So in the larger organizations, I would say that's one of the predominant challenge for the leaders to really find out an architecture which can work well, efficiently on top of legacy systems. And I think the second problem, I would say, what I'm seeing is the huge cultural shift. It's not only the technology shift, because so far we are used to the fact that machines will behave the way it is structured only in one way. So it is always like deterministic behavior. It's like in the RPA world, there were rules. So step one, then step two, then step three, then the step four. So people are quite used to the fact that there will be only one output coming out of a pipeline. But with the probabilistic way of the artificial intelligence where we are moving towards, the system will not behave the same in every occasion, because it will start using its own intelligence, it will start using its own decision, same like what we do. And that's where the culture problem is coming, is like we are still not used to the fact that machine will behave differently for a similar sort of problems. So that's a cultural shift along with the technology which the organizations have to go through or undergoing now, is to really get adopted to the fact is like the digital solutions are no more going to be a single channel output kind of a program. It will be enabled to kind of produce different results based on the different situation.
Great points, Ranan. But as a technology leader, I mean, you must be grappling with this every day, every night, right? How do you prepare for this shift? How do you enable this shift?
Right. So there are definitely, again, two parts. One is the change management part and one is the technology part. So the change management part is definitely, first of all, to understand that what is really needed into the system. And when we are able to put into a strategy which is based on the business drivers, then I think it's more logical in nature and it's easier for people to accept as well. So the change management strategy has to be pretty aligned with the business goals, and based on that we are trying to implement the things which will be more meaningful to the business users as well as the rest of the organization. And the second part, which is the one of the biggest challenge, at the same time the biggest task what we have in hand, is upskilling. Because even today I think the awareness of AI or the knowledge of AI is still at a very superficial level for most of the people. So we are still lacking people. I'm not saying there are enough, but we need much more than that, who are really equipped with the knowledge to implement that and implement at scale. And that's where I think we are trying to come up with upskilling programs which can cater to different roles within an organization. Everyone doesn't need to be at the same level, but identifying the different personas and ensuring that people are upskilled enough so that like the implementation happen in the right way is one of the biggest thing I think is our focus on.
Right. And I think today everybody is talking about Gen AI and AI agents, which are going to change the world. How do you see that play out from an energy context in the next phase of automation?
Yeah, I would definitely say that Gen AI will act as the brain of automation. It will start interpreting the context, generate its own workflow, and even will start making decisions. So I think it'll entirely change the way today we operate. It's a matter of time. I think the roles will undergo changes. The kind of work what we do will undergo a change, and it will substantially change the overall industry on how do we do the end-to-end processes. Because today the processes have a definition which I can definitely foresee is going to substantially change, and which will have a very different kinds of roles and responsibilities and outcomes.
Great. Last question, Ranan. I know we're kind of out of time, but any words of advice, tips, best practices for the audience? Many of them are in a similar path as you, right? Transitioning across the automation journey into the new phases. What would you suggest to them? What are the three things that you think they should figure out or focus on as they are traversing this road?
If I had to choose three advices from my experience, number one is that build your AI strategy based on the business needs. Because most of the times I see like the technology, the people who are passionate about technology like me, we get carried away by the charm of a new technology. So it's always good to learn new technology, but when it comes to implementation and getting the right value out of implementation, it should be business driven. So always stay focused on what are the values and the changes we want to bring in business, and AI should support that, not like AI is going to drive that. Number 2 point is very key, is that AI is no more a technical thing only. So far we have been thinking AI is an IT thing, so IT should be like leveraging and using it. But today, if you see, AI is like in the hands of every business person, and that's how it should be. So today, a business person, a business leader, a product manager, they can use the AI same way as a technology leader what I can, and they can create their own dashboard, they can create their own insights. So I think in the future, AI should not be a property of IT, or IT should not behave as a gatekeeper of AI. Rather, IT should create a governance layer with which everybody independently can go towards innovation. And finally, number three, I would say that AI is very powerful. There are a bit of skepticism still about the security and the safety aspect of it, which is real, which we have to be very, very careful about. But at the same time, I think it's a tremendously powerful tool which is going to give us huge benefits. So we need to stay away from the skepticism. Yes, while security is non-negotiable, that has to be in place, but we should not take that as the first step to undermine the value what we can generate from AI. So stay optimistic about AI, because AI is going to deliver huge amount of value to us.
Great. I think great tips over here. And, thank you, Ranan, for your insights on transforming the energy sector. The sector is arguably one of the most critical industries in the world, fundamental virtually to every aspect of our society and the economy. I mean, my key takeaways from here is, the focus on sustainability that will impact every decision for energy companies, right? How to upskill quickly so that you're able to catch up with other industries, other sectors. There are huge operational costs, huge assets that energy companies have, and technology can play a key role in helping you monetize and figure out how to use this. The two use cases you shared were also very interesting: the finance transformation through RPA automation, and a downstream impact of technology, how the orchestration layer is actually breaking silos when you get into downstream oil exploration and all. I think creating unified real-time analysis, data flows, I think that's a big one. And you hit that, you said it right when you say POCs are fine, but in legacy environments they do not work. So how does AI work on legacy systems? Great question. Cultural shift, we are used to controlling machines, but then today the machines will now start thinking about them. So they will start thinking and start making decisions. How do we adjust to that? Change management, often it is an overlooked area, but I think it is as important as overall technology management, right? So that's very important, especially for legacy organizations. And GenAI will act as the brains of the organizations. And it's great that you pointed out that AI is not IT's property only. AI is something that everyone can use, and IT's role would just be to ensure that it is used in the right way. I think that's the only thing that really we need to look at, right? So viewers, I hope you like this episode of Tech Talk. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Nasscom Insights channel. And we look forward to putting together such content pretty soon. And by the way, in the next 1.5 months, we will be coming out with a short point of view on how the energy sector, the GCCs in the energy sector are transforming in India. So stay tuned for that. Thank you.
Thank you.